Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to jump in and dissect crowdfunding. So I'm glad everybody was able to attend today. I always do these webinars on topics that I get a lot of requests on. And crowdfunding's hot right now. It's one of the hottest kinds of business funding that's out there, and it's perfect for situations where you just can't get conventional type of business finance. So I really thought that this was an absolute perfect opportunity to jump into a hot topic that I'm getting a lot of requests on and kind of decode it, dissect it, teach you everything you need to know about crowdfunding. So before we dive in, I have to give you a little bit of a warning. There's a tremendous amount of content here. I found a lot of content. I found a lot of it was great content that needed to be shared. So I have a lot of content available for you here. But as a result, we're going to have to move at kind of a little bit of a faster pace because we have so much stuff to go over. Now, because you're attending this webinar, I will send you a playback of the webinar. You'll probably get that as soon as tomorrow. So you'll be able to play it back and stop it, rewind it, write stuff down. So don't feel compelled to have to write everything down because there's a lot of content on some of these slides. Just write down the main point of what we're discussing, and then you'll be able to come back, get a playback, and get all of the really good details that you want to make sure that you document. So let me introduce myself. My name is Ty Crandall. I'm actually the Director of Business Services here at Credit Suite. What I do is I help people offer business credit and financing to their customers. That's my role. So if you're interested in all of getting business credit financing for yourself and offering it to your customers, here's my link, creditsuite.com/business credit. You can check it out. You can check out everything you want to learn about me and our program, and maybe get the ability to offer business credit and financing to your customers also. So that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. Let's talk a little bit about what crowdfunding is. So crowdfunding is basically the collection of financing from the backers or the crowd. Basically, this is a way of getting a lot of people to give money, sometimes even a little bit of money per each person to be able to fund whatever your project may be. Now, this has a couple other names. I listed just a couple here, crowd financing and crowdsourced capital, although you'll see crowdfunding listed as a lot of other names that I didn't list here. But outside of crowdfunding, these are the main other verbiage that you'll hear related to this, crowd financing and crowdsourced capital. And according to wordspy.com, the earliest record use of this term crowdfunding was in 2006. But you will see as we go through the history of crowdfunding, the crowdfunding actually goes back, very, very, very far. As a matter of fact, the pedestal that the Statue of Liberty sits on was actually the funds for that were gathered through crowdfunding, as you'll soon learn. So really a big history of what crowdfunding is. It's just the terminology crowdfunding really appeared on the scene back in 2006. So what is crowdfunding? Well, crowdfunding, again, is models involve a variety of participants, including the people or organizations that propose the ideas to be funded and the crowd of people who support the proposals. So there's two elements to crowdfunding. There's the person that puts the project up that's wishing to be funded, okay, and there's the people that donate to that project. Now, it's kind of funny because as I was just sitting and having lunch actually today with my wife, she showed me this really awesome slide that you put over any stairs. It retracts and folds, and kids can go down this slide, or adults for that matter, versus go down the stairs. I thought it was awesome. And so awesome I wanted to buy it. When I looked into it, I realized it actually was a concept that they were gathering crowdfunding for. As a matter of fact, one of the projects was on Kickstarter. So it was kind of cool that just an hour or two ago, I was looking at something that really was a product that's getting ready to roll out from crowdfunding. And you'll also see a lot of these. People have a concept, they roll it out, they get donations from the crowd to bring the concept into reality. Now, crowdfunding is supported by the organization or the platform, which you will hear me talk about the platform, which brings together the project initiator and the crowd. So a platform is something like Kickstarter, which is where the person would go to post a project in hopes of getting a crowd to then submit donations to that project. So a lot of uses for crowdfunding, nonprofits use it for donations. Political campaigns use it for donations, charitable uses, commercial uses, financing for startups. These are some of the main uses for crowdfunding. Now, financing for startups, to me, is a very big deal because a lot of people come to us and want to get financing right away, which you definitely can. There's a way you can get unsecured financing right away. But in a lot of cases, if you just have a concept that you want to get off the ground, crowdfunding can really be one of the most beneficial ways of getting the funds to get that project off the ground. So for financing for startups, I really want to highlight this because crowdfunding is one of the most important types of financing out there for actual startup companies. So introduction to crowdfunding for entrepreneurs. How crowdfunding can help entrepreneurs. Well, you can still take your idea to these crowdfunding sites and have a chance of getting your concept funded. Okay, and that's the whole purpose, is to take your concept to a crowdfunding site, let a lot of other people, sometimes thousands or millions of people, see your concept and decide whether or not they want to buy in. Okay, so benefits of crowdfunding, well, there's a lot. It creates a strong network of support for your business. You know, that's one of the indirect benefits. You go and put up a project for crowdfunding. Well, I'll give you a perfect example, the one I just described, right? That slide. I love the slide, a retractable slide that I could put over my stairs for my kids to go down. That's a phenomenal concept. I like it so much. I'm going to follow this company and follow this project until it's completed, and I'll probably buy it. So although I might not be somebody that contributes to that project and gives them the money to design it, they've already won a potential customer here just because they got their information out on a crowdfunding site. It got to social media. It spread like wildfire. Now, as a result, they have a lot of people investing, but they also have people like me, which is now somebody in their network that will support their cause because I want to see that product on my stairs. So offer equity as part of your package. It's something you could do. A lot of people have to give up portions of equity to their company to get money, to get investors to give money. Well, a lot of, as you're going to learn, platforms for crowdfunding, you don't need to give up equity as part of your actual, basically as part of the process of getting the funds invested. So your investors become ambassadors for your brand. Another big thing, as I just mentioned, kind of focuses on that first point. I'm an ambassador now for this thing that retracts and goes down my stairs and becomes a slide. I love it. Okay, I think it's awesome. As a matter of fact, I'm probably going to share it on social media and show my friends and tell my friends about it. So now all of a sudden they put a concept out there looking for money, but now they have an ambassador in me that somebody's going to go out there and start talking to other people about it because I think the concept is so cool. Gives a newsworthy story to pitch to your local national press. It's really true. Same thing applies. You know, this slide is pretty awesome. It's made it out there in social media. If they took it one step further and started doing press releases and articles, you could very well get even more of a national following. Okay, now something big and a good relative example of this is Shark Tank. If you've ever watched the show Shark Tank, even people that don't get the sharks to invest on Shark Tank come back on that show and talk about their massive success because they showed a concept on national TV with a tremendous amount of viewers, and as a result of that, now they're able to come in and get a lot of people that are actually following up with them, and they're actually giving them basically free press. You can get public support. Again, kind of the same thing I've already mentioned. By putting yourself out there in your concept, you're going to attract a lot of attention. You're going to attract a lot of support. So crowdfunding allows good ideas which don't fit the pattern required by conventional financiers break through and attract cash. To the wisdom of a crowd. So basically what you're doing is putting your concept out there and saying, do you all think this is a great idea? And if other people love the concept, well, they start investing money. Maybe it's just $1, $5, or $10, but they start investing the money, whereas in that situation, you wouldn't typically get conventional financing. And if you do achieve traction, meaning people like the actual concept, then you can secure the seed funding you need to start the project, but you can also secure evidence of the backing by potential customers. This is called proven concept. And again, I use Shark Tank as an example because it's a perfect TV show to use as an example here. You hear them talk about this all the time. You have a great concept, it's not a company, meaning the concept isn't proven yet. And in business, this is very important. For private investors to give you money, what they're typically looking for is they're typically looking for proven concept. Not that you have a good idea, but that your idea is well received by other people. Well, crowdfunding lets you do that. If you put a concept out there and all of a sudden hundreds of people are giving you money to develop that concept or to get that service out there, well, that in itself is proven concept. It proves that your concept has traction. So a benefit of crowdfunding is that a compelling project can raise a producer's profile and provide a boost to their reputation. Again, like I said, as of 3 hours ago, I never knew a retractable slide that goes downstairs exists. Now I'm on this massive webinar talking about it. Everybody's going to go research it, check it out, and all of a sudden this company has a boost in profile and a boost in reputation because they're really looking for money. But again, these are kind of indirect benefits of that. Not to mention that it really gives you free marketing. A perfect example, the slide again. I saw this because it was on social media. Actually, my wife saw it because it was on social media. So because of this, because they started a crowdfunding project and people like it, they're spreading it. They're basically marketing for them the actual project. So not only are they going to get potential money to develop this, but they're also getting their profile raised and getting the marketing done as an indirect result of actually starting the crowdfunding project. Audience engagement. Crowdfunding creates a forum where project initiators can engage with their audiences. Again, back to the slide example. Phenomenal. When you look at the comments to this actual product, the comments were like, hey, make the end of the slide curve. Make the end of it do this. Put rails on the side. The crowd itself is supplying feedback of how to improve the actual project. You can't get anything better than that. At no cost, not only are they coming in and getting money to develop the concept, but they're also getting their audience to engage with them and give them suggestions of what they would like to see. Plus, I also saw that people were ranking what price it should be sold at. Phenomenal. You would have to spend a fortune to buy this kind of research that just because you're putting up a crowdfunding project, you're able to gather because you have an audience engaged, telling you what they'd pay, telling you what other features they would actually like to see. So another benefit is that you get this kind of feedback. Offering pre-release access to content gives the opportunity, or kind of a beta test almost, to project backers as part of the funding incentive. So it provides the project initiators with instant access to good market testing feedback. That's exactly what I just described to you. I just described one product that put out a crowdfunding or a project to get money for their project. Now they're getting feedback of improvements they should make. They're getting people to tell them what price point that they would buy at. And this feedback is just absolutely of extreme value when rolling out any kind of such project. So crowdfunding also provides an exceptional increase in available venture capital. Finally, here we go. We're at slide 11, and it's taken this long to get to the main purpose of crowdfunding. There's just so many other benefits it provides indirectly that we almost sometimes forget about the main benefit, I guess, which is to increase available venture capital. As a matter of fact, if every American family gave 1% of their investable assets to crowdfunding, $300 billion, a 10-time increase, would come into venture capital. Now, obviously, this probably won't realistically happen, but as you're about to see, statistically, it is happening. The amount of people that are pouring money into crowdfunding has grown by massive proportions over the last few years. So this easily could be, and already has been, one of the biggest injections of venture capital into the entrepreneur world, is being able to put in this extra amount, this extra type of funding, this increase in available venture capital to those people that are looking for money, especially to start up and to grow and scale their business. So another benefit is that owners retain control of their operations. Well, that's a big deal because, again, if you've ever watched the show Shark Tank, they exchange an investment for ownership interest in their company. And sometimes I've seen the owner give away as much as 70% ownership of their company to one of the sharks just because the shark is investing money. This is the way equity financing works. They take a portion of the equity of ownership of your company and control rights of your company. A lot of them will even sit on your board of directors in exchange for their money they're giving you. Well, with crowdfunding, you don't have to have that. You don't have to have anybody on your board of directors. You don't have to give up a portion of equity in your company to get money. You put out your concept, people like it, they give you money, and you still retain control of the operation of your actual company. So crowdfunding has its origins, if we look at the history, in the concept of crowdsourcing, which is the broader concept of an individual reaching a goal by receiving and leveraging small contributions from many parties. Now, crowdfunding is the application of this concept to the collection of funds through small contribution from many parties in order to finance a particular project or venture. So when we look at crowdfunding history, although crowdfunding, the term, is fairly new as of 2006, this goes back a very, very long way. It's just kind of been known as crowdsourcing, where you have this broader concept of a bunch of little investments being put in to accomplish one major goal. So an early precursor of crowdfunding was actually known as prenumeration. Okay, and this was a subscription business model, was actually used back in the 17th century to finance book prints. So similar to crowdfunding, an additional benefits to donor was offered like I mentioned in the title page. So basically what would happen is you would contribute money so this book could get published, could get out there, and then in exchange they would give you something like mentioning you in the title to the book or the preface to the actual book. So crowdfunding, although the term rolled out in 2006, goes back to the 17th century. This has been around a considerably long time, and this really is one of my favorite examples because if you've been on any of my webinars before, you will see I am a huge history buff. And in 1884, the American Committee for the Statue of Liberty actually ran out of funds for the statue's pedestal. This was a big deal. Okay, so the Statue of Liberty is getting sent to the United States. We need a place to build it. They're building a pedestal for it to sit on. It was our main cost of the actual statue itself, and we ran out of money. There was not enough money to be able to create this pedestal that the actual Statue of Liberty sits on. So newspaper publisher, you'll probably recognize the name, Joseph Pulitzer, urged the American public to donate money towards the pedestal in the newspaper New York World, and Pulitzer raised over $100,000 in 6 months. Now, $100,000 to you might not seem like a lot of money, but in 1884, this was a tremendous amount of money. And to raise that much money in 6 months was unbelievable. But here's what was crazy. It came at an average donation of about $1. So 125,000 people contributed, the most donations being about $1 or less. Of course, they raised 100 grand, they had 125,000 people. So for that math to work, they had to get about $1 or less per actual person that was contributing money. So as you can see, not only does crowdfunding have a very, very, very long-dated history, but it's been used for some major, major projects as much as the Statue of Liberty pedestal it's actually self. So crowdfunding websites help companies and individuals worldwide raise this kind of money. Now, this is important, I feel, because you can see the increase in demand and the increase of funds being poured into crowdfunding. 2010, 89 million, right? 2011, 1.47 billion. 2012, 2.6 billion. And 1.6 billion of the 2012 was raised in North America alone. So this is worldwide. But this gives you a really good idea of how much this has grown. I mean, just in 2011 and 2012, they're talking about nearly a doubling of money that was put out through crowdsourcing, 2.66 billion. Now, in 2012, more than 1 million individual campaigns were established globally, and the industry is projected to grow to $5.1 billion in 2013. Ladies and gentlemen, look at what's happening here. This is doubling every year. 2011 to 2012, 1.4 to 2.6. That's not completely double, but it's pretty close. Okay, now we go from 2.6 to 5.1 last year. So nearly every year, so in the last few years, crowdfunding has doubled in the world. This is why it's something that demands your attention. This is where a lot of people are going to get money and where a lot of people are willing to spend their money into projects that they believe in. So regulation and crowdfunding. Well, until the Jobs Act, crowdfunding was only a viable legal option for projects seeking donation through reward crowdfunding and not for businesses looking for investors. So this was really mainly for individuals. Okay, and the Jobs Act really helped make this mainstream for businesses. Participants can raise as much as $1 million per year, okay, per the Jobs Act, and 2 sections of the Jobs Act directly pertain to equity crowdfunding, Titles 1 and 3. So, or actually these 2 titles. So if we look at these 2 titles, Title II of the Jobs Act was fully enacted in September 2013 and known as the General Solicitation. It allows companies to publicly share and advertise that they are seeking investments. This wasn't even legally possible until this came out. And in Title III, it will allow companies to raise capital from non-accredited investors. So this is Titles 2 and 3 are what really made this possible and legal for businesses to pursue this money through this means. Okay, and the Jobs Act is still being reviewed by the SEC and is not completely currently in effect for Title III. Okay, at this point of filming this, or actually doing this webinar, it's not in effect. Maybe in 2000, later in 2014, 2015, maybe this will be. Okay, but in this point in time, the SEC is still reviewing it. It's not in full effect, but you should know how Titles 2 and 3 affect the actual crowdfunding because it's the Jobs Act that really legally makes this possible. Now, the Crowdfunding Intermediary Regulation Advocates, or CFIRA, is a very active group working closely with the SEC to provide commentary and is comprised of industry advocates and crowdfunding sites that are champions of entrepreneurship and investment crowdfunding. So these are the kind of organizations that you're seeing here that have a place in making sure this becomes even more mainstream. So the Financial Industry Regulation Authority is the largest independent regulator for all securities firms within the United States, and it protects investors, ensuring that securities industry operates fairly. And under the new equity crowdfunding exemption, was charged with overseeing crowdfunding. So that's why this organization you care about. Okay, a lot of organizations you might not care about. If you're jumping into crowdfunding, the FINRA is one that you need to look into because they're the one that really oversee crowdfunding portals and the legality and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, ethically managing monies, those type of things. So basically, you're going to be using one of these portals to get crowdfunding. You need to know the industry, the agency that's there to protect you in the case that you are. So it gives you a little bit of crowdfunding history, right? Now you should know a little bit about what it is, the benefits it provides. We talked about the vast and diverse history of crowdfunding. So now let's go ahead and jump into some significant campaigns. I mean, how much money can somebody really generate through crowdfunding? Well, 1997, fans underwrote an entire U.S. tour for the British rock band Marillion, raising $60,000 in donations by means of fan-based internet campaign. An artist share based in the United States, referring to as a pioneer crowdfunding platform, was actually launched back in 2003. Kickstarter was actually founded in 2009. Now, I'm telling you when these were founded because we're about ready to jump into some campaigns from these actual platforms. GoFundMe was actually founded in 2010. So the majority of these funding sites that really GoFundMe, Kickstarter, these are the ones that have generated to date the biggest amounts of funds that's out there, and these really just hit the world back 4 or 5 years ago. So the highest reported funding by crowdfunding project to date is called Star Citizen. It was an online space trading and combat video game developed by Chris Roberts and Cloud Imperium Games. As of March 10th, 2014, they claim to have raised $40 million through crowdfunding. And that not just beats, but let's just say completely crushes the previous record of $10 million set by Pebble Watch, a little bit more than that. A lot of you are familiar with Pebble Watch. Okay, Pebble Watch has proven to be very successful as a result of crowdfunding. So $40 million is one of the highest amounts ever raised. And as you can see here, the second highest amount per day is a little over $10 million. Okay, so let's talk about some actual Kickstarter campaigns because Kickstarter probably has the biggest history of like really, really big successful campaigns. So The Guardian media outlet published that 20 most significant projects launched on Kickstarter platform prior to date of the publication. Here are some of them. The musician Amanda Palmer raised $1.2 million from 24,000 backers back in 2012. American Hans Fex raised $1.2 million from 5,000 backers for his mini museum project. This is pretty interesting. You should check this out. American Hans Fex is his name. He's got a really pretty cool concept. You'd never think a mini museum would attract 1.2, but if you look at his actual concept, it's actually pretty interesting. Writer Rob Thomas, $5.7 million from 91,000 backers in 2013. Actor Zach Braff raised $3.1 million from 40,000 backers. Actually, I didn't mention that Rob Thomas was to create a feature film version of the defunct television series Veronica Mars. So this was actually raised to take an old TV series and make it into a movie, which is pretty cool. And this was actually done to produce a video, and it was actually premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. So some pretty big things here. I mean, taking something and making it into featured movies, stuff that's actually featured in the Sundance Festival, rock bands that have done their entire tour on here, software video games that have raised over $40 million, people that have put together museums for $1.2 million. This is what's awesome about crowdfunding. I didn't mention one thing that was even a repeat concept or projects. These are all completely different concepts, completely different projects where people have gotten millions and even tens of millions of dollars strictly from crowdfunding. Spike Lee, most of you are familiar with Spike Lee, raised $1.4 million from 6,400 backers in August to make a featured film that as of April 2014 is not yet titled. Okay, and YouTube celebrity Freddie Wong, who owns the company Rocket Jump, raised $808,000 to produce the second series of web-based video game High School. So pretty cool. Some video games, a lot of movies, a lot of different things on these really, really big projects. Flint and Tinder Company raised $1.1 million from 9,200 backers for its 10-year hoodie. So a lot of different kind of projects. Now, I think this information is interesting for a couple things. First, you get to see people you know, people you don't know. You get to see movie producers. You get to see people that have got their money and made their name on YouTube. You get to see all different kinds of amounts of money that was raised, but you also, and this is what I think is interesting, how many backers are contributing. So you can kind of do the math here. 6,400 people gave $1.4 million to figure out how much that is per person that's contributing. So it kind of gives you some interesting metrics basically on this too as we look through this. So Marina Abramovic, why did I pick a bunch of names that I can't pronounce for this webinar? I have no idea. Raised $661,000 from 4,700 backers after paying $950,000 to buy a building that would house the Marina Abramovic Institute. So pretty cool stuff to look into. The Kano Technology Company raised $1.5 million 2013 for a computer and coding kit for all ages. So again, I'm showing you a lot of the stuff because I want you to see how successful crowdfunding can be. Every one of these projects is $1.2 million or bigger basically. They're all from different industries. A lot of them are from companies and people you don't even know. To be honest, they're companies I can't even pronounce. And a lot of them are for completely different concepts that this money is being raised. So different types of crowdfunding. Now, there's a lot of different types of crowdfunding, and this is important for us to get into because earlier I mentioned that some of the crowdfunding doesn't require equity. Some of it does. Okay, as somebody emailed me the other day and said, well, they wanted some guidance on what platform to go to. Well, that's a great question because it depends on what your project is, what you're trying to accomplish will determine the type of crowdfunding that probably works best for you. So there's donation-based crowdfunding in which the backer essentially donates money to support the cause. Okay, so these are sites where GoFundMe is a perfect example. GoFundMe, you can go to right now. You could put up a project for whatever reason, pictures, description, and people just give you money to support a cause. Let me give you an example. A few months ago, one of the people that I work with, one of my team members, and I also call her a friend because she is a friend, she had a serious fire in her house. I mean, almost lost everything. She's very blessed that out of the blue she woke up, didn't smell smoke, no fire alarm, just woke up, happened to have her son, luckily for both of them, in her bed at the time, something that usually wasn't the case, grabbed him, ran outside, and the pictures are unbelievable. The whole house went up in flames, lost everything, almost lost her life. So when I heard this happen, man, I was really upset. And that day, instantly, I put up a site on I put a site up on GoFundMe to start raising donations. And instantly, within 2 days, we had raised thousands and thousands of dollars. And we had a lot of contributions outside of GoFundMe of people that contributed that weren't even on the campaign. It was the GoFundMe campaign that got all of this thing kicked off. And here's somebody that lives paycheck to paycheck, single mom, lost everything, and within 48 hours, she had thousands of dollars in her bank account. That's a perfect example of a crowdfunding project where people can donate money to support a cause. Now, sometimes they may receive in exchange a thank you, a special mention, or even a gadget, but in many cases, the pledge is essentially a gift. This is the way it is. These people gave her money not expecting to get anything in return, okay? And what she did out of courtesy was say, thank you very much, I really appreciate it, it's life-changing. So she would send out a personalized thank you to everybody that contributed money to her, but there was no expectation for her to get gifts for people that contributed that money to her. There's reward-based crowdfunding, in which the backer receives a reward with a clear monetary value in exchange of the pledge. So the reward is often a product or a pre-series item, and the backer helped produce by pledging money. And in this case, the money pledge is similar to paying for a pre-order of a product or service. So let's say that I wanted to buy the actual slide itself that people slide down their stairs with. Well, I could come in, if they put up a project on a reward-based crowdfunding platform, this could mean, hey, I'm going to give you money to get this off the ground, but my expectation is I want the product when it rolls out, or I want this in return. So basically, I'm giving you money, and you're going to give me a reward. Maybe it's the product, maybe it's something else of value, but I'm directly expecting a reward to come out of the actual money that you're looking for. Okay, so credit-based crowdfunding, more commonly called peer-to-peer lending or crowd lending, in which the backer lends the money and receives an interest rate in exchange. In this case, the money is pledged in the form of a credit loan. This is kind of like financing, right? So you're pledging money and you're going to get back an interest rate in exchange for that money that you gave. It's kind of like a loan, right? They give you money, the lender gives you money, you give them back the money with interest. Well, there actually is credit-based crowdfunding where that's exactly the way that it works. Equity-based crowdfunding. I mentioned this earlier. All crowdfunding does not require that you not give up a portion of equity in your company. Okay, some crowdfunding does require that you give up a percentage of equity ownership in your company in order to be able to get approved. Okay, so crowdfunding is a service which allows high-traffic brands and publishers to leverage their own traffic and crowdfunding right on their own site. So this actually can be a service too, which means there is a way through crowdfunding as a service to run your own crowdfunding campaigns on your website instead of using another platform. So this is important. You need to know this. You know, all these different types, reward-based and credit-based and equity-based, and, you know, what is it you're going to choose to do? Do you just want people to give you money? Do you want to give them a reward? Do you want to exchange it for interest? You know, that will determine the type of crowdfunding that you're really going to use. So, role of crowdfunding. Well, the inputs the individuals in the crowd trigger the crowdfunding process and influence the ultimate value of the offerings or outcomes of the process. Well, this is pretty obvious. You know, the individuals from the crowd that contribute will really determine the success. Are they contributing $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 donations? Is there a lot of people contributing? How many people are contributing? How much money has been raised? That will ultimately determine the outcome of the process. So really, each individual acts as an agent of the offering, selecting and promoting the projects in which they believe in. And that's really what this is all about. Okay, is people are only going to put their money into crowdfunding projects that they believe in. So you need to have a really good cause, and you need to really back it up with honest support of why people should give you money. In the example of my friends whose house caught on fire, our example was photos. I put up the project with no photos, and then I solicited her and said, look, when you do your walkthrough of this house tomorrow, I need pictures. She sent me pictures. I put pictures up on the profile page, and her donations blew up. So it all stemmed from visual. It all stemmed from telling a very good story. And that's exactly what I put together. I put together in this crowdfunding project, and I should have used that as an example in this webinar. Hey, listen, here's a single mom. She's, you know, a Christian. She goes to church every Sunday. She's done nothing but help other people her entire life. And now this happened. She almost lost her life, and now she needs your help, and she'll never ask you for it, so I will. So I put together a very compelling story backed up with visual representations of the fire, what happened, with really gruesome, you know, images of people like her son's playroom destroyed, all of his toys, you know, that had been burnt up, pictures of his bedroom, which he was almost in, that was completely lost. I mean, these are pictures that would devastate anybody with a family that imagines your own home being this way. That's what you're looking for. If you want to have the best results through crowdfunding, you have to put in visuals like pictures and tell a very good, compelling story about your company, yourself, and your product, because that's what it takes to get a good value of offerings and followers and individuals that want to contribute, which will determine your ultimate success of the project. So sometimes you will play a donor role oriented towards providing help on social projects. So sometimes people really are choosing to go more into social projects, and in some cases they will become shareholders and contribute to the development and growth of the offering. So this is kind of what happens, is that with social media, when people really believe in your cause and they take ownership, they start spreading the word. They kind of almost become shareholders and contribute to development and growth of that actual offering itself. And this is a perfect example of my friend's case. Other people saw it, were compelled to share it on their social media, and before you knew it, the thing spread through wildfire like on social media. So each individual disseminates information about projects they support in their online communities, generating further support. And this is exactly what happened. Okay, we went out to our Facebook, our Twitter, our LinkedIn. We started putting this out there everywhere. Hey, this girl needs help. This is what happened. And then it starts spreading. Then other people start sharing it. Other people start sharing it. And then it becomes viral. And that ultimately what happens is the individuals that disseminate that information to make it become that way. So the feeling of being at least partly responsible for the success of others' initiative is one of the motivations of why people would participate in crowdfunding. Striving to be part of a communal social initiative, desire for social participation, seeking a payoff from monetary contributions, okay? So maybe they do want a kickback. They do want money. These are some of the motivations of why people participate. Now, obviously, this is important because you need to know why people contribute money to these sites. Why do people give $1? Why do people give thousands of dollars? Well, these are the reasons why, okay, because they want to be partly successful for that. It's a rewarding thing, okay? For somebody to go and go, hey, look at this slide. This slide's awesome. I was one of the people that got that off the ground. They just had a concept. I poured money into it, and now it's mainstream. I was part of that. That feeling of being part of something is a big reason. Striving to be part of a social communal initiative. Okay, another thing, people see other backers joining in. They want to join it. They want to be part of the movement per se. And then some of them are just seeking a very specific payoff. So what kind of people will give you money for a crowdfunding project? Well, an innovative orientation which stimulates a desire to try new models of interacting with firms and other consumers. This is kind of one of these traits of people that contributes that they have. Social identification with the content. They can relate, cause or project, okay, which sparks a desire to be part of it because they can relate to it. Monetary. Basically, they get paid, motivates some people. These are some of the main reasons why people contribute. There is a motivation, a monetary. Okay, social, innovative. Those are the main traits of somebody that actually contributes money to crowdfunding. Now, this is used in a lot of different countries: Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Italy, Israel, Finland. Remember, the United States just passed regulation where this is even possible. So there's a lot of other countries that still don't allow crowdfunding. These are the main 11 or so that basically do. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Italy, Israel, Finland, Germany, Sweden and Norway, Turkey, United Kingdom, and the United States. So let's talk about where you go to get money. Well, as of 2012, there were over 450 crowdfunding platforms. So let me say, probably too many to mention here. There are fundamental differences in the services provided by these different platforms, which is why we need to spend a lot of time looking at the different platforms so you know which one to target. Crowdcube and Seedrs are both internet platforms which enable small companies to issue shares over the internet, receive a small investment from registered users in return. So with these sources, you're giving up shares of your company in return for the money. Now with Crowdcube, it's meant for users to invest small amounts and acquire shares directly in startup companies, while Seedrs, on the other hand, pools the funds to invest in new businesses as a nominated agent. It's a little bit of different between those two, but you get the idea that with these, you're basically exchanging shares in return for money. Now, crowdfunding platforms in general serve as a network orchestrator. So they basically create the structure. Like they create the system for you to go on and post projects and get money, and they replace the kind of traditional intermediaries, such as traditional record companies, venture capitalists. So they are the middle person. The middle person now is the venture capital guy that knows people and goes out and gets the money for you. Now crowdfunding platforms are the new intermediary, I don't know why I can't say that today, where they basically are the in-between between you and the actual crowd, and they will exchange money. They will want money in return, and we'll talk about how much money they charge in a little bit. So let's look at Forbes. Forbes had a really good list of the top crowdfunding platforms that I really thought were probably very pertinent as I looked around. GoFundMe, personal online fundraising website. This is the one I used for my friend whose house went on fire. Okay, this was a great one for personal causes, and it was really easy to get a project up. Usually used for raising money for personal causes, yourself, friends, or family. A 5% fee is typically charged with them. Here's their site. Now, most of them I don't have a visual of the website up. I did for them for a particular reason. I want you to see kind of what a crowdfunding website looks like. There's a lot of you on this webinar that have never even seen a crowdfunding website. Well, if so, here's kind of an example. So this is a real project that's really going on right now. And you can see there's a video that explains what it's about. Okay, here's basically an explanation. Here's who created it. Donate. You can share the project. This down here would show you the different money that's been contributed. So you can see here that this person's raised $13,000, a lot of money. Okay, and the last actual contribution was only for $5. So most of these contributions, aren't big contributions. They come in even little amounts. There's 450 shares. You can see the tweets. You can see how it's getting put around. You can see what the goal is. Now, even if this person doesn't reach the goal, they still get this money. They can get this money out in about 48 hours. My friend's house that burned up, she was able to get the money out in about 2 days, even though we didn't totally reach her goal. So to give you an idea of a layout of kind of one of these crowdfunding sites. Now, this is a really good visual. Okay, so if you have anything like on your computer to do a screen capture of what's on the screen, I would suggest you do a screen capture of this, because this gives you a good idea of rate comparison between a lot of the sites. So you can see some of the top sites. I'm not going to go through them all because we're about ready to go through them individually. You can see here the fee they charge. Now this is this girl's ranking of them, which doesn't really matter, but you can see the fee here they charge. Okay, pretty big deal, right? And this one charges 9%, this charges 5%, this charges 7.5%, 4.9%. So this gives you an idea of fees. So what happens is basically, let's go back. This person isn't going to get this $12,900. They're going to have to basically get that minus GoFundMe's fee of 5%. So that would be like what? Like $700 is the fee. So they would basically get this money minus whatever that fee is. Okay, that's how that actually works. So they can bring out of their account this much minus actually this fee. So that gives you an idea of fees between the companies. So Kickstarter, site where creative projects raise donation-based funding. Projects can raise from new creative products like art installation to a cool watch or a musical album, really broad range on Kickstarter. Not for business causes, charities, or personal financing needs. Kickstarter is one of the earlier platforms that has experienced strong growth and many breakout large campaigns in the last few years. So again, this is for creative projects, okay? It's for concepts. It's not for businesses or personal use or charities. This is why you have to know these platforms, because you're not going to go to GoFundMe for a business funding project. You're not going to go to Kickstarter for one either. You're going to basically use these for creative type projects. Okay, Indiegogo. Indiegogo approves donation-based fundraising campaigns for mostly anything. A good one to look into. One of the top sites that does just about anything you can imagine. And they have an international growth because of their flexibility, broad approach, and their early start in the industry. So one of the older companies that's out there, they are international, and they're flexible. And by flexible, I mean, look, they'll do just about any kind of campaign you have. Unlike Kickstarter that's looking for basic concepts and artistic type stuff, and unlike other ones that like GoFundMe that's personal, this one's very diverse, which is part of the reason that they've been able to grow as much as they have. Crowdfunder.com, platform for raising investment, not rewards, and has one of the largest and fastest growing networks of investors. It's recently featured on Fox News as the new breed of crowdfunding. after getting rewards-based funding on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, so initial money based on concept, companies are often given the crowd an opportunity to invest at Crowdfunder to raise more money. So Crowdfunder might not be a place you go to start your concept, right? Kickstarter is better for that. But then once your concept's off the ground and you need money to get the business up and going and grow, Crowdfunder is a great source. Okay, it offers equity crowdfunding currently only for individuals, angels, and venture capital, and was a leading participant in the Jobs Act legislation. So Crowdfunder is definitely one you want to look into. Rocket Hub powers donation-based funding for a wide variety of creative projects. Again, creative projects, concept type stuff, okay, art, film, music type stuff. What's unique about them is their fuel pad and launch pad programs that help campaign owners and potential promotion and marketing partners connect and collaborate for the success of a campaign. So again, Rocket Hub is perfect for people that also are allowing the crowd themselves to participate. Remember we talked about this earlier. Participate in the project, give feedback, connect with the actual person that's posting the project, and collaborate. So not only are they contributing money towards the concept, they're actually helping basically get the concept off the ground. CrowdRise, place for donation-based funding for causes and charities. They've attracted a community of do-gooders and then fund all kinds of inspiring causes and needs. A unique point system on CrowdRise helps track and reveal how much charitable impact members have. So CrowdRise is not a place you go unless you're a nonprofit or you have some kind of cause or charity. Okay, that's mainly what they do. Okay, Sumoland. Sumoland is a site for lending for small businesses in the U.S. So small business, that's probably applicable to a lot of you, providing debt-based investment funding to qualified businesses with existing operations, not for startups. Okay, it's partnered with banks to provide loans as well as helping small business owners bring their friends and family into the effort. Okay, so this is a great way where they're going to get some money from banks, so a little bit more stringent requirements. Okay, and they also help make it easier just to spread the word with your actual base itself. App Backer. Now, what's funny is App Backer is one of the biggest ones out there that you'll find, but they're really just for apps. Okay, they basically are to get money for mobile apps. So if you're not looking to develop apps, well, then probably not the right place for you. But if you're looking to develop an app for your business, you feel that's the thing to get you to the next level, well, then App Backer is an absolute perfect place for you. AngelList, perfect for tech startups. The accredited investors and institutions have been funding a growing number of top tech startup deals. Now, AngelList used to just be angel investors. Pretty self-evident by the name. Okay, now they've went out into more of a crowdfunding type approach, but again, it's only for tech startups. So if you're not a tech startup, probably not for you. Invested in, you might want to create your own crowdfunding community, support donation-based fundraising for a specific group. Invest in is in California, and their top name white label software giving you the tools to get started and grow your own. So I told you earlier about being able to not go to GoFundMe, but to be able to put the actual thing on your own website and have people go to your website to get donations. Well, Invested In is one of the places you'll go to get the technology you need to put your own crowdfunding project on your website versus using another company's platform. Kirky, if you're an inventor, maker, or tinkerer of some kind, then this is a good place for you. Okay, their site digs deeper into helping the process of bringing an invention or product to life. As you can see here, there's fundamental differences between these companies. Some are for startups, some are for existing, some are for basically artistic type stuff like music or whatever. Some are just for tech. Okay, some are for inventors, some for proving concepts. So all of these things are going to be useful to help you determine which one works for you. And although I'm moving through at a pretty steady pace, you're still able to rule out the ones that probably won't work and at least are hopefully able to make a short list of the ones that you're probably going to be wanting to look into. Fundraiser. The website's dedicated to raising money for anything from personal causes to nonprofits to entrepreneurial. Cost of 5% for completed or incomplete campaigns, plus 2.2 to 30-cent transaction fee for each transaction that takes place. Deep social network integration to connect to people in your network, cheap and convenient transaction fees with funds, go directly to your PayPal account. That's pretty cool. Some of these, it is harder to get money out of, whereas if they go to your PayPal or bank account pretty easily, that's definitely an extra benefit. Go Get Funding. London-based fundraising site can be used to raise money for anything from paying for pets' medical bills to creating a short film. 3.5%. Okay, plus a 2.9% transaction fee, and can be used for public or private projects. Anyone can post a project, easy to use. So Go Get Funding is a really good international source. And remember, you don't have to stay in North America or in the United States to get money for your project. This is worldwide. I just showed you all the other countries that this is out there for good reason. I want you to know you don't just have to stay in the United States to get money. You can go to companies like Go Get Funding or out of other countries and be able to get contributions there also. Okay. The platform for Crowdfunder blends donation-based and investment crowdfunding models as well as encouraging online and offline crowdfunding collaboration. 5% fee, 1.9 to 5% Amazon FPS transaction fee, so a per transaction fee. Mixes online and offline crowdfunding, emphasis on businesses' long-term growth. Pretty cool. Crowdfunder is one I'd write down. I like online and offline. Most crowdfunding sites just keep their marketing stuff online, whereas Crowdfunder does some offline marketing stuff. So it's really perfect, and it's great for profit companies. So this is very applicable to a lot of you that are on this webinar that are entrepreneurs looking to get money for your business. Start Some Good. Crowdfunding for social entrepreneurs, as well as nonprofits and other individuals committed to making change. A 5% fee, 3% transaction fee, open globally, supports for profits, nonprofits, individuals, attracts niche audience by highlighting projects centered on the social good. So like if you're a green energy kind of company, something like that, well then this is good. Start Some Good is perfect. You could go off of their philosophy of helping the environment and helping people and social causes. But if you're not really focused, your products or services and on social causes, Start Some Good probably won't be the best. Fundable, create a business crowdfunding platform that enables companies to raise capital from investors, customers, and friends, and they've helped over 6 million businesses. I don't think this one was on Forbes' list, but I found it. I thought it was important. I thought I would add them on there also. And there's, of course, a bunch of other ones that I'm not going to go through in depth. Lending Club, okay, peer-to-peer lending, community got over $3 billion. In person-to-person loans, so pretty big. Prosper is another leader in the peer-to-peer lending industry. Peer Backers wants to crowdfund big ideas, okay, via its reward platform, so people get rewards for contributing, and they're looking for really big concepts and ideas. Somo Lend lends to small businesses via their social local lending platform. Funding Circle's another one, okay, and if approved, investors lend capital at a set interest rate on this one. So it gives you at least a lot of good information about where to go to get the money. And that's, to me, is important because you can get lost, right? There's 450 of these sites in 2012. I don't even know how many there is now. It's got to be probably over 1,000 are now out there. So I might as well as help you narrow it down, know the biggest ones, know the ones that are the most recommended, which is the ones we just looked at. And then most importantly, on top of that, you're also going to want to know where to go to get it, which you now know. So this is per SBA. I thought this was pretty interesting. Some factors that can sway your investment worthiness include share findings from market research, okay? Make sure you tell your story. So have a good business plan. A lot of cases people are going to want to know about it. Make sure you tell your story. What's your background? What are your dreams? And share your achievements and progress. This is important, okay? Because when I put up the post for my friend that has her house burned up in a fire, she posted updates of what she was using the money for, what she was buying, things like that. That kind of stuff really helps. What do you need to do? Well, you have to have a business incorporated if you're looking for money for a business. Start getting your business plan, which we just talked about. Get your accounting records complete and accurate in case anybody needs those, and get your CPA and accountant involved to assist you in the process if you have a CPA or accountant. And here's some tips. Okay, have the resource in place to promote your pitch daily. So you need to, again, get your media out there. You can't just put up a post and expect you get money. You got to post it on social media. You got to hit your friends and family up to share it. There's a lot of things you have to do to take place in there. You have to take every phone call and answer, every email from a potential investor. You have to create buzz, create videos, cool marketing stuff, whatever you can to promote your project. Find out who your potential customers are and court them, okay? So who would contribute money? Well, find them, email them, solicit them on social media, wherever you can find them. You can't just put up a project and expect to get money. It doesn't work that way. In crowdfunding, you have to solicit people to give you the money. Find out what kinds of rewards would entice them to invest. Okay, they're going to have questions. How exactly do you plan on spending the money? Do you have an exit strategy? What are the short, long-term goals? What type of trademarks, intellectual property do you have? Do you have a product? How organized and compliant are you? Have you completed your due diligence? What type of protection do you have in place for your business? Okay, these are the kind of questions that a lot of investors are going to want to know. Okay, put your plan into action. Okay, so step 1, identify and research a business idea. Step 2, prepare a business plan. Get your account and financial statements in order. Identify crowdfunding sites that can help you raise the money. Basically what I already showed you, but just going through and breaking it out step by step. So there is a few resources you might want to check out if you want more information on crowdfunding. Here's some of the stuff that I looked at. Wikipedia, Forbes, SBA. They all have really good resources on crowdfunding. Some of the content from this webinar actually came from these sources, so some good sources to check out. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I do not have time for questions. I know some people have some questions in the question box. There's my email address right there. You can copy your question from the question box, paste it in there, and email it to me. I wish I had time for questions, but I literally have to be in another webinar within 5 minutes. I have to get that started and get it all set up, so I do not have time to be able to answer a bunch of questions today. I wish I did. But if you want more information on business credit financing, you need help with business credit financing from us, here's our website, creditsuite.com. Cool link on /business credit you can go to learn about how you can offer business credit financing to your customers. And I will send you a playback of this webinar tomorrow when it's ready because you attended this webinar. You can not have me talk so fast. You can listen through it, pause it, write down stuff from slides. So if you miss content, don't worry. You will get a playback of this webinar. If you missed the beginning of it, don't worry. You will be able to get a playback of this webinar. So that should help you. So again, this is Ty Crandall. Thank you very much for taking the time to attend this webinar. I hope you all enjoyed this webinar on crowdfunding. And now you have the actionable steps you need to get crowdfunding. I mean, you know the history. You know how it started. You know what it is, the benefits. You know what platforms are. You know the different types of crowdfunding. You basically know the steps to go out and get started. Everything you need to get crowdfunding, you now have. So get to work. Get out there. Take some action. If there's anything we can help you with, here's my number and email, 877-600-2487. My email is ty@creditsuite.com. And don't forget to check out our website, creditsuite.com /business credit. Thank you very much for taking the time to attend this webinar.